Welcome to Rick on Life, brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Media Project. I'm your host, Rick Amitin, and this is where I like to talk about things that affect our daily lives. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to create positive change. We're only at the end of the first month of January in 2018, and I'm already hearing the grumbling of a lot of people that I know who are unhappy with themselves, and they're dissatisfied that they haven't followed through on their New Year's resolutions. And I recognize that this is something that we hear every year. And I'm not immune to it. Going back a few years, I used to every year have some New Year's resolutions that I'd put into place and swore that I was going to get these things accomplished and done in my life. And I was like so many who didn't really follow through on them and didn't see them happen the way that I wanted to. So I decided I was going to do some digging around and do some research. And I came up with some pretty interesting numbers here. 41% of us, almost half, regularly every New Year's, establish New Year's resolutions that we're committing to. Almost half of us, 42%, never make any New Year's resolutions. But the same people seem to be coming back year after year with their list of resolutions and things that they want to accomplish in the new year. So I found the list of the top 10 resolutions that people tend to make at the beginning of every year. Number one on the list is to lose weight and to be healthier. 21.4% of the people who make resolutions make that as their top resolution. Number two, 12.3% vow that they're going to improve themselves this year. Self-help, transformational work, whatever it might be, they're going to be a better person in 2018. That's their resolution. Number three, 8.5% of the people resolve that they're going to make better financial decisions. Number four, 7.1% of the people who make resolutions say, I'm going to quit smoking. Number five, 6.3% say they're going to do more exciting things in the coming new year. And number six, 6.2% say they're going to spend more time with their family or their friends. Number seven, 5.5% say they're going to exercise more in the new year. Number eight, 5.3% of the people say they're going to learn something new on their own, all by themselves in the new year. Number nine, 5.2% of the people say they're going to do more good deeds for other people. And number 10, this surprised me a little bit that it was so far down on the list, but 4.3% of the people vow that they're going to find the love of their life in the new year. When I looked at this list, there wasn't anything on here that I thought was wacky or out of balance. I think most people would approach all of these things as being beneficial in their lives. Now, these are good things. These are really positive things and good things that we all could be mindful of and benefit if we accomplish them. But the truth of the matter is that 92% of all New Year's resolutions have failed by the 15th of January. It's a staggering number. And when I did some research on it and dug a little deeper, I found that this is a pretty constant number. It remains the same from year to year. So we just seem to be, many of us are in a pattern where we're not breaking out, we're not creating positive change. And then when you vow that you're going to do something and you don't see it through, it gives you the exact opposite feelings than you would have felt if you had accomplished them. Now you're mad at yourself, you're upset at yourself, you're disgusted, you know you need to do better and you're not doing it, and so it creates all kinds of havoc in our emotional and mental faculties. But I wondered, why is it, if these are just good basic things that we all could be doing and improving our lives, why do so many good intentions fall by the wayside? And I was reminded of my experience a number of years ago when I discovered the value of making goals. And this is what I learned. When I stopped making resolutions and learned the value of goals, here was a substantial difference that I noted. Resolutions have a tendency to be, they're good intentions, but they tend to be wishful thinking. They're not really attached to any plan. There's no real impetus in place for the accomplishment of those resolutions. It's just somebody saying, yeah, I want to lose weight. Yes, I want to meet the love of my life. Yes, I'm going to spend more time with family and friends. And yes, these are good things that I need to be doing. And I'm going to make better financial decisions. But there's no real plan in place to help those resolutions become realities. Goals are something much different than resolutions that appear to be nothing more than wishful thinking. Goals are defined and they're measurable, and they have deadlines attached to them, and there is a plan that has been put in place to be able to actually support the accomplishment of the goals themselves. Forbes magazine reports a remarkable study about goal setting that was carried out in the Harvard MBA program. Harvard's graduate students were asked if they have set clear written goals for their future, and if they have any specific plans to transform their fantasies into realities. The result of the study was only that 3% of the students had written goals and any plans to accomplish them. 13% of the students had some goals in mind, but had never taken the time to write them down or to create an action plan. And 84% of the students had no goals at all. They had no goals in mind. They hadn't written anything down. There was no particular objective. There was no significant thing that they saw that they wanted to pursue or wanted to commit to. And then 10 years later, this same group of students were interviewed again, and the conclusions were a little bit astonishing. The 13% of the class who had goals but had never taken the time to write them down earned twice as much money as the 84% of the class who had no goals. But here's the really astonishing number that caused me to take a harder look at this, a closer look at it. The 3% who had written goals and who had written down a plan of action on how to accomplish those goals were earning on average 10 times as much as the 97% of the class combined. Wow. It's not only money that I recognized here would make this valuable, but if that's true, what about all the goals that we decided to not only write down, but then write a plan for accomplishing those goals? Where would that put us? If we move from wishful thinking and the idea of New Year's resolutions into something more solid and concrete as a goal with a plan to accomplish those goals, where could that put us? I mean, quite obviously, written goals have some substantial and significant benefits. And so since I've been writing goals for a number of years now, and I've figured out some things that work and some things that don't work, and some things that have been helpful to me and things that really didn't support me well. And I've shared some of these. I've seen some of these same principles work in other people's lives, and I've watched them take them and augment them into their life and maybe even modify them to fit their particular situation or agenda. But the main thing is that we got into the habit of writing goals and creating an action plan along with it. So when I decide that I'm going to write my goals, or when it's time for me to write my goals for the next year, there's always 5 particular issues that I want to address head on and be sure that I have included in my goals and planning. They are, number 1, clarity. Number 2, action plans, our steps, and number 3, focus. Number 4, a script or blueprint. And number 5, the ability and systematic implementation of review. I want to be able to review myself on a regular basis. Let's talk about clarity for a little bit, because this is, I think, where so many people get stumped with what really matters to them and what's really important, and whether they want to just approach it from like a resolution that has no plan, or if they want to take it farther and actually say, this is what I want to create. This is what I want to manifest in my life. This is what I want to see happen that's important to me. So clarity is a picture. It is a mental picture that we get in our minds of what it is we want to accomplish and what we want to do. But it's a still shot. It's just a photograph. It's a standalone snapshot. We have weeded through all of the stuff, trimmed off the fat, got to the meat, and really been able to determine, this is what I really want. This is what's important to me. And I've got a picture of that clearly in my mind. This is what I want to do. But then we recognize that that's only the beginning of progress. That's the first step. It's an important step. In fact, I don't know how you can really make any additional steps or get clear on anything else if you're not clear on your goals and what it is that you want to accomplish. But when I'm clear and I've got that picture in my mind and I'm satisfied, okay, I've got it. I understand. I'm in touch with it. I can touch it, I can feel it, I can see it, I can sense it. It represents the things that I want to do, the things that are the most important to me. Then I can breathe a little. And it fosters confidence in me that with the clarity that I have come up with and the picture that I have in my mind, I can accomplish that. It gives me that sense of, you can do that. You're clear about that. You know what you want to do. You can get busy on that. It's clarity. And it is the foundation for everything else that has to do with your goals and achieving those goals. Everything that you're going to put in place to support the making that picture of what's important to you real. Taking it from just imaginary to reality. The second thing that I'm always concerned with, and that is my action steps. Clarity is useless. As important as it is, clarity is useless if it remains just a photograph, just a still shot in your mind, just a picture. We have to turn that picture, that photograph, that still image, we have to be able to turn that into a motion picture. And our action steps that we put in place is how the movie of our life actually gets made. It's the steps that we're taking to bring that picture of clarity into reality, so that it becomes something that's not just inside of us that we hope for, but it's something that's out there that we can see and realize. And so the action steps become the legs of our dream, the legs of our clarity, the legs of the movie of our life that we're trying to make. And it breaks things down into manageable steps, things that we can say, this is what has to happen today. This is the steps I'll be taking tomorrow. This will be the steps I'll be taking a little bit down the road. I'm breaking these things up into manageable steps. So it's not like, how do I just bring all of this? If my dream is big, and hopefully yours is, if my dream is big and the dream is monumental, and it's something that you want to pour your passions in, pour your desires in, pour your resources into accomplishing, if it's that big, then we need to break it down into manageable steps on how we're actually going to get there. The third thing that I insist on of myself when I'm creating goals is I address the issue of focus. In order to avoid too many retakes of your movies, of your scenes of your movies, to have to redo things because they were not right, they didn't come out right, I have to know my lines. I have to be able to say my lines at the right time. I have to be able to act in the moment of what the scene calls for, of what my action steps are that I put into place. And I have to understand the scene that I'm in, and I have to understand how that scene fits into the movie of my life that I'm making. It's just a scene. I'm making a movie, a motion picture. I'm viewing my life from beginning to end, and I've got this picture that is in my heart, in my mind, things I want to bring out. And so now I'm taking these action steps, and I have to be able to focus in the scene. I've got to be mindful of the whole movie, but I've got to be able to focus in the scene on the action steps that I'm taking right now. And so to be able to focus, you also have to anticipate obstacles. I want to shoot outside today, but is it going to be bad weather? You know, I want opportunities to speak. Have I developed my speech, my talk? These action steps, these things that we're constantly preparing for the whole movie, but one scene at a time. And focus allows me the ability to take the scene I'm in, make it important, understand its importance, and treat it as important, and get this scene right in view of the whole picture that of course that I'm trying to make. So I have to anticipate the obstacles that might come up, the attitudes I might run into, the people who might disappoint me, the people who let me down. I've got to be sure I'm holding up my end of the production here, and be sure that I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to. But you have to anticipate. In order to focus, you have to anticipate the obstacles, resistance, and any distractions that are always present. You have to know how to focus through all of these things that challenge us on a day-to-day basis if we want to accomplish our goals. And it's that personal resolve within myself, that focus that I have, that attracts the help and the support that I need to accomplish my goals, because people can feel the movement. They can feel the life. They can feel that what you have cast out there as a vision, what you have talked about, what you have presented, what your mission is, what your goal is, what you're really trying to accomplish here. You attract the support because people feel the life, and they see the movement and the progress of your focus and your resolve. And so the fourth thing that I always ensure that I'm accounting for, and that is the script or the blueprint. While I have to do the best I can with the scene I'm in, the action step that I'm taking, the manageable steps that I put into place. I've got to be mindful of that, but I'm also always mindful of the end result. Where are we going here? Where am I trying to get to? I don't want to lose sight of the ultimate goal. Although I do have to focus on where I'm at, I do want to always be mindful of the whole script. I want the whole blueprint always to be fresh in my mind, so that I'm always connecting the dots. I'm not getting so hung up, as important as the scene is that I'm in, and wanting to get that right, needing to get that right, insisting on that being right is one thing. But I don't want to get so focused on that I lose sight of the big picture. And the big picture is, I'm making a movie here of my life. The end result is actually going to be important. And so it provides me with a blueprint to follow, to have all of the details of my goals and what I'm trying to accomplish, to have it readily available so that I can continuously be checking for accuracy. Okay, we got this right, but does it lead correctly into the next phase? Does it correctly lead to the next step? Does it get me connected the way I need to be connected to be able to move on? Did I make this solid enough that this will now stand and I can move my attention on to something else? So can always be checking the accuracy, because I've got the script, I've got the blueprint, I know the whole layout here of the movie that I'm trying to make. And so as the director, if I don't know what's next, nobody else is probably going to know. Since I'm the director, I need to know not only my lines, but everybody else's lines. And I need to know the contribution that each person that I have brought into my goal making and into my mission, what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to accomplish. I have to ensure that everyone around me understands clearly that they're making their contribution, what I have challenged them to do, what I'm depending on them to do. I have to be certain that they're getting that done. And it also helps me then to know when somebody is speaking out of turn, or if they're just misspeaking completely. Have I miscast somebody? Have I taken a line that I really shouldn't, that should belong to somebody else? Am I doing something that should be delegated? Have I got the right actors? Have I got them in the right roles? And is everything working the way that it's supposed to work? And so this script allows me to constantly be looking at the big picture, allowing me to focus on what's immediate and what's at hand, but also keeps me in contact and connected to the big picture. So it acts as the script or the blueprint for everything that I'm trying to do and accomplish. And the fifth thing that I address when I'm dealing with my goals is the ability to review. So I put in place some methods here to measure my progress, to measure my growth, and I also want to measure my satisfaction. Am I on time? Am I on track? Is this scene right? Is everything the way it needs to be? Can I freely move on? And the last component that review provides for me is to, once I mark the progress, we've made ground here. We had some deadlines, we set some timelines, we accomplished those things, we got to those places. Now let's celebrate. Because celebrating is important. You're not just a machine, you're a real human being. And you're trying hard to accomplish good things in your life. And so you want to take the time to celebrate every achievement, no matter how small it is, because the reality is, if you're at this stage of your goal setting and accomplishing, then you're one step closer to fulfilling your dream. And that's something you should be celebrating. It means that you've done a lot of things right. And it means that if several things have come up that have threatened to sidetrack you or disrupt you or even destroy what you set out to do, You've obviously done some good problem solving. You've applied your skills. You've rallied the troops. You've kept everybody moving in the right direction. And that's something to celebrate. And you should really take the time to do that. Hit movies, when we're relating this to our lives metaphorically, but hit movies are not accidents. There's a lot of moving parts. There's scripts and actors, locations, lighting, sound, costumes, props, staging. A lot of moving parts to successfully reaching your goals. And this all has to be brought together cohesively. It's all got to mesh and gel and work together. And there are times when you've got characters in the wrong roles. And you're not really, that's not their gifting or their talent. You might be trying to do things that you're lousy at. And you should then look for somebody who can do that better than you, and put those peoples into those positions and in the right roles. Because if you are successful in gaining clarity, creating a plan, keeping your focus, staying on track with the big picture, reviewing yourself regularly, you're doing something. You're on it. And obviously it's important and worthy that you're giving your strengths to it, and you're being honest and authentic and recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses, and soliciting the support of people who can contribute in ways that you can. I deal with a lot of people who are better at some things than I am. And I am happy to recognize that, celebrate that, and I'm very thankful to have them involved in my life and what I'm doing and helping me move the ball down the court. So let's keep some things in mind here. People who write their goals down and create an action plan to support those goals are 80% more successful than the people who don't have goals clearly defined and don't write them down and have no action plan. So when you're creating a plan, you want to create a plan that's made up of very small, manageable, doable steps to get you where you want to be. And be accountable by setting deadlines and making those deadlines known so that you have brought other people into the process, and they can also be analyzing and looking at whether or not your goals are reachable and you're on track. Another thing is a good thing to do is to create a good half a dozen of very believable positive affirmations, statements that you repeat to yourself that will help fuel you and keep you going. And always put your affirmation statements in the present tense. When we say things like I will, or I'm going to, or this is what I'm planning for, it's not really, it means that we haven't really brought that into our reality. So when we say I am doing this, or I am going to accomplish, I am accomplishing that right now, not I'm going to. I am accomplishing this at the moment. I'm taking the steps today that I need to be taking. So it helps to put it in present tense because it moves you into that reality of right now. I'm in this moment. I'm right now. This is where I'm functioning in. And I like to start each morning with reviewing my goals. I read through them, keep them in my mind, be sure that I'm lining up with them. And I have days when I'm not feeling it. And so by having action steps in place, I know what to do whether I feel like it or not. I don't allow myself to operate based on whether I feel it or I don't feel it. That's part of the power of creating the action plan, is you know what to do because it needs to be done. It's the right thing to do. It's the things that that are necessary and required if you really want to achieve your ultimate goals. And so this helps me by looking at it every day, reminding myself, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, this is what I'm out to do. And so I like to review that. And then I commit myself to the things that matter the most in that moment on that day. And then I try to visualize what it will feel like to actually reach my goals. When I do that, and I'm doing it, I'm getting it accomplished, but I try to capture the feeling even before I start of what it's going to feel like when I reach my goals, when I accomplish those things. And I try to feel that. And I try to put myself in the moment of realizing that I've already done what I've set out to do. And then I want to be sure again that I'm identifying my progress and I'm taking the time to celebrate my achievements. Our lives are important, and they're too important just to throw them together haphazardly. With a little bit of forethought, some planning, and some execution, I think we give ourselves a much better chance of living the life of our dreams than if we just spend our days wishing things were different. I have some experience in construction, and I have seen some carpenters and some tradesmen that I'd love to have working on my house. But I've also seen some carpenters and tradesmen that I don't want anywhere near my home. The quality of the work is that different. And so even in doing some of my own remodeling, I've made mistakes, sometimes costly. I know what it is to cut a board too short. You lose the board because you need a longer one. You just have to cut another board. I know what it is to measure something incorrectly. I built a wall and I didn't realize it, but I was a 1/4 inch off when I started, but 10 feet down, I was several inches off. And that's not fun. Some guys will just try to cover over that and try to ignore it, just make do, leave it for the other guys to try to figure out how to tie in the next wall or door that has to be hung and the wall's out of square. So I've also learned that the time to fix something that's wrong is in that moment, right then, right there. Because if I didn't rebuild that correctly, it's certainly going to give me more trouble down the road. And so oftentimes I think when people begin with New Year's resolutions and then they find themselves not even halfway through the month of January and they're already way off track, they just throw their hands up and almost show a willingness to blow off the whole year because they got started wrong. But I want to encourage you, if you set some resolutions and they fell by the wayside and you're disappointed with yourself, don't let the whole year go. The best place to start is right where you are, because there's no better time than the present to reevaluate and take constructive action to build your life the way you really want it. When our lives aren't working and it's not coming out the way that we want it to, that's an invitation for us to take corrective action and get it right. It's your life. It's your movie. And nobody can do for you what you have to do for yourself. And so to get the support and the help that you need, you got to be able to demonstrate that you're all about your vision, your clarity, your action plan, and moving forward. We all know the insanity of doing the same things the same way and just hoping for some miracle that we'll get some different results. We have to be the change that our dreams require. Just remember too that you and your dreams are worth the effort. Don't forget that. You and your dreams are worth the effort. Thanks for being here. And remember, no matter whether you got off to a rocky start and you're starting over, whatever's going on in your life, just sprinkle a little love on it. I'm Rick Amitin. I'll see you next time.